The game is changing back! Not in any way that actually matters, though. Ladies, gentlemen, and Harajam of all ages, it's been a rough couple of days for the community of Diablo 4. After patch 1.1 hit, we have all been rightfully pretty despondent about the future of this game if the developers are willing to take such significant actions to make us feel weaker repeatedly without doing anything to compensate it by making other things stronger. Not to mention that their complete lack of care to talk about any of the long list of quality of life changes that we're looking for. I haven't heard them respond to the concept of stash-based changes outside of changing the way that gems work for Season 2, or even say a single thing about build loadouts that we've been asking for, other than offering us one singular Scroll of Amnesia for a free skill Paragon reset for finishing the season journey of Season 1. One of them. So hey, you can now try 2 builds out per season, so that's nice. All of that said, there have been little nuggets of news dropping since the patch, including a couple of revisions on things that happened in the patch, so let's break it all down and answer a simple question. Are these bits of news enough to make up for the patch that we got? Before we go through it all, I'll warn you, my personal answer is no. First up, we have the first hotfix of Season 1, and the main thing here is that they fixed the nerfed drop rate of cinders in Helltide. After the patch, players were noticing a reduced drop rate somewhere from 50 to 70% of cinders, which is just a silly reduction, especially considering in the patch they increased the cost of the mystery chest and increased the difficulty of the monsters in Helltide, and this is just the main reason that people were still interacting with Helltide to this point anyways, were the mystery chests. They stated that this was an unintended bug with the patch, and that this hotfix has returned the cinder drop rate to normal, so that's a good start. Past that, there has been a weird interaction that the community caught onto since the patch, which is that you were simply unable to access World Tier 3 and World Tier 4 on new characters if you did it too early in this patch. After extensive testing, it was worked out that the specifics of this was World Tier 3 could not be unlocked even if you beat the capstone dungeon until you were a minimum of level 40, at which point you had to complete the capstone again. It didn't even just automatically count the completion from before. The same goes for World Tier 4, but the level for that is level 60. The clear intention of that is to snuff out power leveling your friends' ults, which is silly to me because clearly the biggest thing that they wanted to do with the recent patch was extend playtime. Let's be real, they slowed the game down entirely because they want every activity we engage in to take longer so that they can get maybe just a bit more playtime out of each of us. This change actively hurts that though, because if somebody wants to level an ult, that means they are willing to put a bunch more extra time in. They will put way more playtime in once their ult has been boosted, once they get to the part of the game that they actually enjoy. But if you destroy power leveling, it won't make these people level up the hard way and do it slower and put in the same amount of game time but more. It'll make 90% of the people just never even want to make a second character in the first place. Simple as that. Not to mention that people who carefully craft their experience can actually be capable of unlocking World Tier 3 as low as level 35 and World Tier 4 as low as 55 all by themselves, and this crushes any incentive to even try to do that and actually take on a difficult challenge to prove yourself. All that said, Adam Fletcher, Global Community Development Director for Diablo, said that they will be removing this feature. Note that he didn't say it was a bug to be fixed this time, but it was clearly something that they did intentionally without including it in the patch notes and have very instantly realized it is maybe not a good idea.
Whoopsie!
Past this, there was a somewhat stealthy change to the patch notes. At release of patch 1.1, this is what the general gameplay update section looked like. Then a couple of hours later, it instead looked like this. So they increased the renown reward from side quests by 50% and the renown reward from dungeons by 25%. Overall, this is a good thing. Of course, it makes it easier to get our renown back in Season 1, which makes it easier to get back our bonus skill points and our Paragon points as well, and all of that, which is just a good thing. But the thing that I really feel the need to mention here is we never should have to interact with that system again in the first place if we don't want to. Renown, as a mechanic, is just not a fun time thing in the game. It's a time sink, plain and simple. It is tedious, and they have forced people to care about it by tying it to actual game power, and even though they made the concession of letting us have the first 2 ranks of Renown straight away, this doesn't make up for the fact that we still have to get the final 3 tiers in every single region manually again, every season, and it just is not a fun activity. If they don't change this by Season 2 or 3, I'll be surprised because people don't enjoy farming renown. One more note then as far as surprise changes go, again without including it in the patch notes, we got the return of the reset dungeon button that was in the game in the beta. You can simply click on this button in your quest journal and it will reset all active dungeons aside from campaign ones. In theory, this is the reason that we got the heavily confusing channel time for leave dungeon has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds change in the patch notes, as this button can now only be used when outside outside of a dungeon, and this prevents people using it for stuff like resetting a potentially dangerous situation on hardcore characters, I suppose. But as annoying as it is, they felt the need to increase that channel time. This button being re-added is undoubtedly a good thing though, for two major reasons. There is still a reason to farm one dungeon multiple times, especially while leveling in the first place, and now when you do that, you no longer need to log out and then log back in to reset it, which should speed it up significantly, cutting out 2 whole loading screens per run. Not to mention it means that you won't lose elixir buffs when doing so you can genuinely just spam a single dungeon for initial XP grind if you want to. This is a positive change, it's nice to have, but it's crazy that it wasn't in the patch notes in the first place. Past that, we got a bit more detail on the upcoming Campfire Chat stream the devs have sort of emergency launched in response to all the backlash on patch 1.1. I am very wary about the stream. We know it is on Friday, and we now know that it will be happening at 11 AM Pacific time. The reason that I'm wary is because to me, they announced this stream in reaction to the heavy backlash for one of two reasons. One, they've decided to revert some of the nerfs, give us some buffs, address the quality of life changes we've been begging for in some manner. Two, they're going to say, you guys are overreacting, everything is fine, this is for the health of the game long term, ignore what you feel about it right now. And then they're just gonna sit there explaining why they did the things that we all really didn't like, and it won't change anything except possibly even making the angriest people out there even angrier. It will make people stop playing the game if they don't answer this properly. Knowing Blizzard, it's not going to be option one. And if they don't use this stream to make some serious statements and promises about the quality of life issues, at the very least, this is not likely to go in a positive way for them. It will cause a lot of people to stop playing if they do not do this stream correctly, if they do not answer a lot of these important questions. We have also heard over the last few days that Season 1 itself will have a new pinnacle boss challenge, which is what Uberlilith is classified as, and it will just be an extra challenging version of the new boss that is being added in the season for the Malignant tunnels and the seasonal quest line. This is a good thing. More challenging boss fights is great. Diablo 4 has very few properly single target situations, and adding more of these lets people explore different types of gameplay within the same system. We also got further information on this from Adam Fletcher though. This pinnacle boss will not be level 100, it will actually have a level 60 version on World Tier 3 and a level 80 version on World Tier 4, and I actually really like that personally. Yes, of course there will be people who just go to level 100 before they try it and then thrash it when they overlevel it, which sort of sucks, but this adds more genuinely challenging boss fights along the path if you want to stop and work through them, meaning that we now have one at level 60, one at level 80, and then we still have Uberlilith for level 100. This is a pretty positive move in my eyes as far as increasing the amount of meaningful boss fights that we have. Past this, we also have this exchange, which essentially leads to Adam Fletcher saying that they will look to provide more clarity on all changes and patch notes in the future. Ideally, what I would want personally is more clarity about patch notes before the patch actually happens. Tell us ahead of time what we should be expecting properly. Tell us what the general reasoning is for the patch itself and some of the more important changes. Of course, obviously they aren't going to release the full patch notes a week before the patch happens, but just give us the bits that you are absolutely sure about. Drip feed it out and talk it out with the community so you can gauge what we all think about it and actually work out if it is a correct choice before dropping a 6,600 word patch note that an incredibly large amount of people are not at all happy with. Better communication is always a good thing. Not just in Diablo, not just in games. Communication is just important in any functional interaction between humans, honestly, between any living things. Then we also have this article on PC Games N, not too much going on here overall, except the claim that Madeline James, quest designer for the game, supposedly promised the writers some wild Diablo 4 Sorcerer builds in Season 1 that rely on the new Malignant hearts to hopefully make up for the patch nerfs. This, it's not a good look. One, having seen the changes to Sorcerer, having seen the Malignant hearts, all of them, these might just be maybe bringing Sorcerer back on par with what it was before the patch, which is not necessarily a compliment because the whole excitement we had around Season 1 before the patch was the developers telling us these powers are really strong, they are build defining, and they will make us feel arguably probably too strong. But then they nerfed everyone so hard that the relative power gain we have from the hearts just won't feel that great. It's strange to me. Not to mention, there still is the Eternal Realm, which doesn't even get these hearts, but did get all the nerfs. And there's also the claim of these hearts creating new wild Sorcerer builds, and that is at least a little bit of an overextension, I would say, having seen the hearts myself. It augments some builds a little bit, it makes some a little bit stronger, but it does not do enough to full-on create anything on its own that will do anything meaningful, not realistically. Moving on to slightly less official news, players have worked out the full list of Nightmare dungeons in the rotation for Season 1, as this was actually actually changed in the patch pre-season, so people have been slowly collecting sigils on the Eternal Realm to note down what is in the pool. As a result, here is the full list via max roll, same number as last time, 6 dungeons per region chosen to be a part of this for 30 dungeons total within the pool. The pool itself is smaller for World Tier 3, and then it expands to the full list in World Tier 4. Some of these are far better than others, Surrat's Lair being a really big standout here, as that is just a seriously solid dungeon already, so getting to have that nightmare format should be quite juicy for our XP farming up to 100. Even though, again, yes, XP farming was quite nerfed in this patch. I hate that I have to add caveats like that now. Why do they have to nerf so many things? Doom and gloom aside, we have one more thing to talk about today, which is the data mining of the actual models for the armor sets that are a part of the Battle Pass for Season 1 for those who are still interested in that. We've seen portions of some of these sets, the entirety of some of them, but the Pirate set is sort of neat, and if I'm not mistaken, that is actually on the free track of the Battle Pass as well, so that is a free bonus cosmetic set that looks interesting and unique for every class. That's something, you know, it looks alright, and you can see how it looks for all the different classes and genders. Slowly looking past here, it doesn't actually change visually, really, it's just adjusts to the shape of the different character models. Then we have the Cold Iron sets, which have been a big part of the promotional material for the Premium Battle Pass. The one with red trim will also have some visual effects in-game, so it will look nicer than this in actuality, but this is the basics of it. There are a ton of different images here, as it's 2 sets per class, and each class having 2 genders. They look essentially the same across the board, aside from, of course, the shape changes to fit the various character models, so there isn't a whole lot of difference going on between them. Once you've seen one of them, you've seen the rest of them pretty much. Generally speaking, these armor sets are nice. If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. Definitely do not feel the need to spend money just for the sake of it on this game, especially right now, but if now you know what you're getting out of it, if you do choose to do so, if you do want this specific Battle Pass. And that just about does it for the news today before the season drops, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow after that Campfire Chat happens to break down what it actually was, as I know a lot of you simply do not have any interest in showing up to what could very well be 2 hours of the developers just explaining themselves rather than offering any actual changes in the works, and so I'll do it for you. I'll hear what they have to say, and I'll relay it to you in the most concise manner that I can after it wraps up, so that you know what's going on. Until then, for those of you diving into Season 1 when it releases, that is exceedingly close approaching, or could even have already happened if you're watching this video a few hours late. I wish you luck, I wish you speed, and I hope you still have a fun time, alright? I'll see you all out there on my fresh Druid. Like if you liked the video, subscribe with the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.